We finished the book of Galatians. A lot of people believed it was never going to happen, but it did. And we will work through the 5 chapters of 1 John. Now, I picked 1 John because it's the same geographical area that the book of Galatians was written to. But it's a different time period. 1 John was written by the Apostle John. Now, we don't know that because it's not signed. Did you notice that? There's no signature. Paul would write, say, I Paul write this or whatever. They're not. What we have is early Christian tradition that says that was written by John the Apostle. But it was written late, really late in the 1st century. So we're talking about 35 to 40 years after Paul wrote the book of Galatians. Same geographical area, 35, 40 years later. Are the same problems there, or do they have a new group of problems? Now, when we approach a book, we have spent a lot of time talking about learning the historical grammatical background of the book. Because we want to know the author's original intent to the original audience. That's what we want to know. Once we learn that, then we can apply that to ourselves. Before we know the author's original intent to the original audience, we are in extreme danger of misapplying a text. Okay? If we think that it just applies to us and everybody who thinks like us, then we are in serious danger. And we will do something with the text that we're not supposed to do. So we want to be diligent in looking at the background of a book, looking at the historical situation, what's going on, looking at the language that they use. Now, I'm going to tell you the first fact about 1 John. When you are in seminary or when you're in college and you take your New Testament Greek, this is the very first book you can read. The Greek is very simple. It's very simple. Now think about this. Some of us are getting on in years. How would you like to learn a whole new language in order to minister to a group of people? Now, when John, the Apostle John, hung out with Jesus, and they would sit and they would chat, because he'd always sat next to him, right? What language did they chat in? Aramaic. What language was 1 John written in? Greek. Koine, common Greek. Okay? Was not John's original language. Matter of fact, most of John's ministry went on in the land of Palestine, where he spoke Aramaic, and he ministered in Aramaic. But now he's in Asia Minor. And they don't speak Aramaic over there. They speak Greek. John had to learn a whole new language to minister to these people. Now, that's quite a challenge, isn't it? So you can understand why his Greek is not the most polished or the most highly educated Greek. You're going to find that in the book of Acts and in the book of Hebrews, where you have highly educated authors writing in very good Greek. Those are the last 2 books you'll ever learn how to read when you're studying Greek. Okay? Good news is we don't have to know Greek. That's good news. Okay? I took 3 semesters. My professor said, you know enough to be dangerous. Don't do anything with it. Because, if you have people out there making arguments based on the Greek that have not really immersed themselves in language, just be careful. Okay? Your translators have done a really good job. But 1 John sounds different than the other books. It sounds almost simplified. And now you know why. Okay? The cool thing about 1 John is we don't have to guess about why John wrote it. Normally you have to kind of look at, with Paul we found out that his early statements that he has in his prayer kind of reflect what he wants to do in the book. Well, we don't have a prayer in 1 John. We don't even have a traditional greeting. But we do have 3 statements. And the first one we want to look at is in chapter 1, verse 4. make your joy complete. I don't know if you noticed there's a little footnote. You already got a footnote already? Okay, it says, some early manuscripts read, your joy complete. All right? The author wants something to happen because of this book. He's going to sit down and write this little letter. It looks like a little letter, but that was a lot of work for John. What's he want? He wants their joy to be complete. Hey, this isn't just, I want to make you happy. I want to do the Hallmark card thing. You know, make you smile. He said, I want your joy to be whole, to be complete, to be entire. So there's something you're missing. There's something that's taking away your joy. There's something that's something that you have been thinking or been taught. Something is eating away at this joy that God intends to just define your life. So this is why I'm writing this. If you come out of 1 John without any more joy, you miss something. Or John didn't do a good job. Which one are you going to bet on? Okay? There should be indicators of joy in here as we're studying 1 John. And some lights should come on. Some things that just didn't fit before, that took away, that nagged at our joy. After you read 1 John, he said, I hope they're gone. That's the reason I wrote this. Then we have another statement like that. It says here, chapter 2, verse 1. My dear children, I write this to you so that you will not sin. Now, sin is one of those amazing words that we misuse all the time. Okay? We like to think of sins as a list of things that we shouldn't do that we'd really like to. Okay, that's not the way the New Testament uses the word sin. The word here is an archery term. It's an archery term. You have a target, and you're aiming at that target, and you pull back the bow, and you let that arrow go, and if it misses the target, you sin. That's what the word means. We are created in the image of God. We were meant to be like our Creator. We're meant to love like our Creator. We're meant to accept. We're meant to forgive. We're meant to have joy like our Creator. When we're not like our Creator, we miss the mark. We sin. Make sense?
Amen.
Okay. John said, I'm writing this so you don't miss the mark. You don't miss the mark. Now, there are several different ways to miss the mark. One is if somebody paints a different target. Or if somebody moves the target. Right? It's hard enough to hit a target that's still. But what if somebody's moving it then? What if somebody's telling you that this is what God is like, really? I know that you thought He was like this. I know that you had this conception of God before, but no, it's actually like this. There are some people in Asia Minor that are teaching some things they shouldn't teach. They're teaching some things about God. They're teaching some things about Jesus that are wrong. They are moving the target. If you don't know, if you don't understand what Jesus has done for you, if you don't understand that He's come to reveal God's nature to us, how do you know what the target is? He said, I'm going to tell you about Jesus. You're going to know what the target is. And I write this so you don't miss it. You don't miss the target.